Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I am doing a prediction, an extremely early prediction for the 2026 United States Senate elections. This is going to be more what these states are going to look like in the future versus what they look like now. Because a lot of these senators, we don't know if they're running for re-election, if they're getting primaried, etc. So we are going to Okay, there we go. We are going to go through all of the safe states to start out with. We are going to do Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Oklahoma. Whoever wins the special election this year will win again. Then, we'll leave Texas blank for the moment. Yeah, West Virginia, certainly. Okay. Iowa, I am tempted to put as safe. We will rethink that in a second. We will fill out. Oh, wait, I forgot about Alaska, of course. We will fill out Oregon. Alaska is actually trending to the left just a little bit, but not enough to pull it below safe because Dan Sullivan won it by like 13 last time, so I don't expect that to be overly competitive if he runs again, and I'm assuming he will. Oregon is going to go safe. Virginia, we don't know yet. That's going to be more hypothetical. So New Jersey, Delaware, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. I'm actually going to put, well, New Hampshire could be likely. Let's look at Yeah, Jeanne Shaheen has a weak electoral history generally, so we are not going to fill that in quite yet. And then not Maine either. So this leaves us with the states of... Well, actually, you know what? Colorado's going to be safe at this point. I don't care. And also New Mexico is probably going to be... Well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that safe last time. But I think for all intents and purposes, we fill it in as safe because we don't know enough about candidates. Lujan's probably going to run again, in which case I would say it's a pretty easy win for him, but people talk about New Mexico trending to the right these days, so there is that to bear in mind. However, I'm not going to consider that, seeing as we don't have enough evidence yet, really, to justify putting this as likely again. Because I think Ron Chetty was a really good candidate. I think against more of a nobody, Lujan would win by over 10. So that brings us to Minnesota, Iowa, Texas. Oh, of course, Illinois. What the heck is wrong with me? Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, New Hampshire, and Maine. We are going to fill out the likely states first. And these likely states would include the state of Minnesota. Yes. Minnesota is going to be likely. Tina Smith is not as strong of an incumbent as is, well, let's see if we can find her first. Yeah, Tina Smith won by a little bit over 10 points. In 2018, that was a blue wave year. And then in 2020, the Legal Weed Party split votes and it took away support from her. So probably just due to that, she wins by a likely margin this time around. But no guarantees. That could even be safe. Ooh, crap. I did not want to show that. So anyway, we now look at... You know what? Let's look at Texas. Texas is probably going to be likely. I don't remember how old John Cornyn is. I could see him running again. So we go down here. Yeah, John Cornyn. How old is this guy? He's only 70. He looks older, but he's only 70. So I could legitimately see him running again. I think that's very possible because politicians like to run until they're 100 and then they retire and then die like 2 years later. Um, so I could see him running again, but Texas is a blue trending state, and he is only going to win by like 8 or so. It's going to be a reduced margin, but probably by more than Ted Cruz would in 2024. Iowa, I am torn about Iowa. It could be either safe or likely. You know what? Let's put it as safe. 2020 was a blue wave year. Joni Ernst only won by 6.6, I believe, while Trump carried it by 8.1. I could see this being over 10 points in the end, especially if the Democrats give up on it and nominate a nobody, sort of like the New Hampshire 2020 situation, where like Gene went up against this like random person and completely walloped him. So I will not say any more about that. Oh boy, some controversial ones coming up here that we don't know much about. Michigan is Gary Peters' seat, and Gary Peters is a weak senator. He's not the strongest one. Let's look down here. He's 63, so he would be about 67. I could see him easily running again. I'm gonna get rid of that because I'm not supposed to be showing that off. I think if they put up the right candidate, this could be lean. I think this is going to be a blue wave year, though, is the problem. In which case, because I don't think Biden or any Democrat wins in 2024, I think it goes to Trump or DeSantis or whoever the heck the nominee is. So I'm going to put it as likely, like it's around 5 points, but because this is going to be more of a blue wave environment. So we will give them that. And also with that in mind, let's give New Hampshire to Jeanne Shaheen by over 10 points, just because of the fact she is a relatively popular incumbent from everything I hear about her, and because it will be a blue wave year similar to how 2020 was. And again, Republicans do a terrible job of putting up Senate candidates in New Hampshire. They just do. I mean, it was the Messner guy in 2020. Now we have Bolduc. I mean, we're going to just keep screwing this up. I mean, the Republicans are not going to nominate good candidates in New Hampshire anytime soon. They could have thrown Sununu in there, but they didn't. So we are not going to really assume that they find anyone good this time. That leaves us with 4 final states, the first of which is going to be Georgia, which goes by a likely margin to Jon Ossoff. While I think Raphael Warnock still stands a chance of losing re-election, it depends on how Walker debates. But I'm not going to go into that right now. While I do think Warnock will lose, this state is essentially going to be the new Colorado, Georgia is. Colorado slowly trended blue as a whole bunch of liberals moved into the state. Same with Georgia. The suburbs expanded and everything went vastly to the left. And Georgia, after 2022 and 2024, is going to be completely out of reach and is going to be likely blue, and then by like 2032 it will be like Colorado exactly, and there will be no turning it away anytime soon. So Ossoff probably wins by over 5 points, especially in this more blue-leaning year. We're going to look at North Carolina now, and North Carolina, I don't really know what to say about this one. I'll be completely honest, man. Tom Tillis, we don't know his intent. He ran and won by 1.8 back in 2020, despite the fact he trailed all those polls. Like, my gosh, look at that, man. He couldn't even lead any polls and still won. So, yeah, that's totally, like, shows how bad North Carolina polling is. North Carolina, though, as much as people say it's trending to the left, I've yet to see evidence of this, and I think Tillis probably narrowly wins it. If he won by 1.8 during a blue wave year, he probably wins by around 1.5 or a little bit less during a year like 2026. Probably he wins by like 1.1 or something like that, but it's going to narrowly be above the tilt margin, assuming he is running. If he's not running, and if they get somebody who's like stronger or something, then maybe it could be more, but I don't know. I've never seen Tillis as particularly weak. He just did really bad in polling, so that's enough to say about that. We can now move on and look at the state of Virginia. Virginia, I'm going to do a hypothetical matchup and say Youngkin runs. I don't think Youngkin will actually run, but if he does, as people are speculating he will, he would run up against Tim Kaine, who will obviously probably run again. Tim Kaine will probably win it, but it will be under 10 because Youngkin is actually a strong governor at this point in time. Like, people actually like him in the state, despite the fact he's red. He's a red governor in a blue state. So yeah, it's going to be closer than it would be had Youngkin not run and had they just put up a random person, kind of like they did in New Hampshire. The final state we're going to look at is Maine. Maine. Oh boy, Maine. Susan Collins has been there forever. You know what, let's... man. She has not formally declared that she is running for a sixth term, but has filed paperwork to fundraise for a campaign. I think with that in mind, she runs again. I don't know how she won in 2020. That was insane. It shows polling was truly horrible in 2020. I don't know how bad it'll be this year. We'll just have to wait and see. But Susan Collins probably, hypothetically, barely wins. I would say things are getting more polarized and there will be less crossover support. But since she was able to pull it off in a blue wave year like 2020, I'm not sure about 2018. 2018 she could have lost. But I will give this race to her barely, just because she's a juggernaut who has been winning in a blue state for a while now, and it's incredible. She always pulls it off, so I think she pulls it off again. Especially seeing how she somehow managed to win by nearly 9 points. Yeah, it was nearly 9 points during a year she was expected to lose by like 5. So with that in mind, I will give her this seat. And that's the final map. Republicans would get 20 seats out of this scenario. Democrats 13. None of these seats would flip from what I can see. Yeah, unless weird stuff happens in Oklahoma. But that looks to be about it. I guess this is one of the less interesting years. I'm mainly basing the fact that Tillis and Collins win off of the fact that they both won during very, very blue wave years somehow. Although maybe they weren't as blue wave years as we thought, but they were definitely more Democratic-leaning years. They were more favorable Democratic environments. And they still both managed to win, so I'm giving them those seats despite that. But yeah, that is my final prediction. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, do all that crap if you really want to, and bye.